put the recorder on. We got about a minute and a half to go. What I wanted to do was show that even on a 3 minute chart, MGM, I've traded that right out of the gate basically, and I violated one of my primary directives, prime rules of making this thing break a 3 or 5 minute high opening range. I didn't do that. I probably did a 2 minute range and it didn't work. 3 minute or 5 minute, got to do that. That would have kept me out of this trade and I would not have lost $100 and something. All right, so again, when you violate your rules, you pay the price. All right, we are 30 seconds to the open. I wanted to let you guys know, I tell you when I do things right and when I do things wrong. From you, no secrets are hid type of thing. And it's a learning thing, and I need to relearn it myself. Follow the rules, follow the opening range. I used a 2 minute opening range and got 40. And we're off and running. The first Friday in the new year. Let's let the markets settle up a little bit before we get here. We're getting gap ups in the markets. They're gapping up to resistance levels. Let's look at 1-day 5 there. 1-day 5 there. Okay. Let's see what happens here. The Qs 152.5 to 152.60 for the Qs. We're 1 minute in and we're already starting to give it back. Squid could be a possibility. QID. We basically went down to 48.50 to 49. GME gapped up, pulling back. Las Vegas Sands gapped up, seems to be holding. Only problem we got with LVS is the 52. Oh gosh, 50, what am I talking about? 54.50. It's going to be resistance area, but yeah, it's starting to give it back now. When pretty much the same thing. Foot Locker daily looks okay. It looks like it wants to go maybe to 57. Okay, we're just 2 minutes in. We still have a ways to go. Mr. Impatient here. Gilead, Crawl, Apple, Deck, Crocs. Give it a lot of them gapped up and pulling right on back. Let's watch the Foot Locker. RPM, what is she doing? Yeah, still going lower, so I bet you sure. Okay, I'm watching Foot Locker here. All right, we're 3 minutes in, so I've got the permiso to go long. All right, I'm long some Foot Locker at 54.39. stop is about 54.10. Basically the low of the day. The way it's moved will it's pretty spready here. It's about 12 cents, so we'll see. So it could get a little jumpy. And with 30-cent stop, I'll look to get either 30 to 60 cents into it, so maybe just under 55. Okay, 30, 69, 75-ish be the high of the day, really. Okay, I'm filled for 200 out half of Foot Locker. I don't even know what it is. I'm just gonna watch the chart here first. 72. Okay, gonna go close to 54.90 or so. I've got an order in to sell at 93. Another quarter. And we're out at 93. Okay, now I've got just 100 left. Let's see what we got here. I might be done here pretty quick. I'm seeing on the daily 55 and a half is possibility, or 55-ish. So yeah, we're pushing the 55, so we'll see what happens. I'm not going to give a whole lot of this back. Like 54.75 or so is going to be a stop. A little bit under that. Okay, let's see if we can get over 55 and get a pop. Let's see what happens to the markets. Looks like they're starting to go up higher, so that'll help me a little bit. Okay, it's still a little bit spready here. And the possibility if it weakens off, I'll get taken out because it's 13-cent spread. Seem to be more sellers than buyers at the moment, just barely. Starting to tighten up the spreads just a fraction. $86 by 92, $83 by 90. Markets are still pushing higher, so I'm holding out hope. I need a good push here to get away from my stop. Uh, 80 by 85 is the spread. We're really not getting any somebody somebody bought or sold 2 shares of Foot Locker at 54.80, and then somebody just bought 1 share at 85. Okay, if I guess if that's all you can afford. Man. Okay, we're now bid at 88 over 98. I'll post the rest of the trade in a little bit here. And the markets are still pushing higher, looking for that, what, 246? No, 248 and a quarter. And Foot Locker's pulling back a little here. And I'm going to go ahead and flatten. Okay, and we are out of Foot Locker. Okay, last is at 73. We're 149. I think 93. Oh, that's 94. I got filled a little bit better than I thought. Okay, 39. Oh, 6, 7. That was 69. I got a bill a little worse than I thought. Okay, 94 and 73. All right, I'll post that in just a second. Okay, what else are we looking at? Foot Locker. The market's got a little long in the tooth. I still think maybe 248 and a quarter gets pushed and tagged. Let's look at Foot Locker trade. Long for 400 at 54.39. At sold plus. Sold. Okay. Okay, let's look. The Qs are pushing up higher above 152 half. We did touch 248 quarter on the spiders. So, whoops, 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 whoops. No sorting. There we go. I'm watching the 1 hour chart on the spiders and the Qs. The Qs over 153 looks like it has a void to 155, meaning we have waterfall. So it would take some strength to do that. general chat. Anybody take any trades yet this morning? Bought some GME, huh? Okay, let's look. All right, 147.5. I see what you're doing. And there goes the push of the spiders. And UPRO's up at the $34 level. Yeah. And we're up at the gap down open from yesterday. We filled that, and we're now trying to get into the gap. Let's look at spiders and see if that's the same. Yep, the spiders is trying to fill the gap. I call the gap from the lows to the high gap down. I don't take it from the last price because it's the most conservative approach. So show you what I'm talking about here. I said the gap here from this 248.75 to 248 and a quarter, basically the below the lows here before the rally. Now, I know a lot of people will take close to open. All right, it's Friday. It's Harvest Day. Don't give money back. Don't give back profits. So I'm not gonna push it here. My idea is to be conservative. And you can tell, even though I'm day trading, I'm very conservative. Oh, okay, Val. I can see why why you say that. The people who say that they can't trade in the first hour, though, I think that's a little excessive. But yeah, 15 minutes does let the dust settle. I use 3 to 5 minutes, but again, I'm a fairly aggressive trader in that regard. If I had waited on Foot Locker, it probably it wouldn't have panned out so well. 15 minute. A lot of these will shoot. The biggies might shoot right out of the gate. Okay, let me look at my Mr. Spiders. Let's look at data series. And we're going up to 248.5 on the SPY. Okay, you're out, GME. Nice. Nice. Hey, profits are profits. I mean, a lot of times these will retest the highs of the day, and then this one had. Let me do a 1 day 3 minute here and show. I don't know what time frame Stalker uses or whatever, but it pulled back here. It did kind of a little intraday J hook on a 3. A lot of times with high volume moves up, they'll retest the highs of the day. Then you get to the point where is it going to continue or is it going to crap out? This one, with a weaker market, it might just stop here. But right now, the price is going up and the momentum's resting a little bit. So this would indicate a possible higher move. And you can always get back in later, right, Stalker? You can always get back in. She's probably on mute. Fort Debt. I normally don't like, yeah, I don't normally like spreads greater than about 10 cents. The Foot Locker was about the max that I was going to do. Q's and the SPY both trying to, whoops, trying to top out there. That 153 on the Q's on a 15-minute chart, I can see where we're running into some resistance. But 15 minutes says it's still got some momentum. Yeah, some momentum to the upside. Watch for a break over 153. WW means worth watching. A doji here on the Qs would be very nice. In this 155 area. And this, where's 153 that I was talking about, and there's 154. All right. And the Qs are pushing up. Spiders breaking out above 248 and a quarter. Net stop 249 for spiders. We got the 153. Let's see if we get 153 after 154 in the Qs. I'm not going to take any of them though. Anybody else? Anybody doing any paper trades or anything like that during this time frame? Be interested to see what you guys are seeing and what your strategies are and things like that. And is there anything else that I could do um, to provide you guys with more information? I'm really, desperately trying to show you what I'm doing and explain what I'm doing so that you can try to follow along and learn. But if there's anything else, just let me know. The posting of the trades as I do them was one suggestion. I'm doing it as quickly as I can, but I do have to trade first. It's my money. I'm here for you. You guys are looking over my shoulder. So the Qs are still going up. The spiders are going higher there. Right. I always do that. Now, I caution people to not necessarily try to follow me, but if I announce it in advance, then you can evaluate it whether it meets your risk reward criteria, things like that. Um, I'm probably a little bit lax in not posting the. Okay, great, Glenn. Appreciate that. I would do a better job of telling you what my stops are in advance. Although I did tell you what the Foot Locker stop was, and then we started moving it up. So I'll try to keep you posted, even if I don't post it in the room. Um, that's a good question, George. And the answer is for me, the markets are very, very jittery, and one of the one of the issues is that with the volatility, the increased volatility, I do two things. I trade with smaller size. I try to make sure that the setups are not absolutely perfect, but they're better than the average that I would take on a say a bullish trending day that wasn't really volatile and the like. And I tend to take profits quickly. And I am a very short term trader and I want to see what happens on the ones and the threes. I believe, George, you've only been here. Way to go, Stalker. I think you've only been here for a few days, maybe it's this week. Compare what your entries would be and what your profits would be on using say, a 3 minute. I don't try to use a 1 minute, 3 or 5 minute versus a 10 or 15. Um, I do understand using the 15 to follow the trend, but I will trade off this lower time frame. So, because I'm watching the Qs here on the 15 and the spiders on the 15 to get the idea, but I want to trade quicker. Like the doji we had here on the SPY, I was in the Foot Locker trade, but we could have gone long here above 247.82 or so. U Pro would have been long above about 33.70 with the stop below 33.50. So you're talking about a 20 to 25 cent stop. Looking for 25 to 50 cents on this, so just about 34. It got there, you would take the first off the table and then try to let the next one run as long as you can. But it's again different strategies, different approach. Not saying that I'm right, not saying you're wrong. I'm just explaining to you the thought process behind why I'm doing that. We're still in rally mode on the Qs and on the spiders on the 15-minute charts. Great. And I do watch the 15-minute chart. It may not always be displayed here. You see in the upper left hand corner, I've got spiders on the 15. I always have that. And later in the day, I'll move from 5 to 15-minute charts. If we're going to trade the afternoon, I don't necessarily trade and initiate trade stops and the whole 9 yards and targets on the 15. Maybe targets, I would establish that on a 15, but um, I definitely trade and watch for weakness on the 3 and the 5. I won't I really don't want to go much lower than a 3 because there's too much noise. Um, I've noticed that the major indices, the 3 minute works reasonably well. I did like to use a Renko chart on the futures, but it doesn't work that well on the ETFs. It doesn't display properly. All right, the UPRO, and let's see if the spiders has filled that. Yeah, the spiders filled the bottom gap plus a little bit. We're at 249. The next levels logically would be 249 and a half and 250. UPRO 3450 maybe, but we'll see. On a 15-minute chart, you can see that. Let me today just show it this way. Whoops. And you can see how we kind of got the gap fill there from yesterday. All right, since Stalker stopped, probably have the. She's got us on mute. She's got me at a disadvantage. I am trading a retirement account here, so I can't short easily. I could use inverse ETFs and options. So if I'm going to trade an option or something like that, I'm going to probably trade more the 5 to 15 minute charts, George and company. But I tend just not to do that because it's a lot more, quite a few more variables to watch, and you got to pick out the strike, the price, the expiration date, the whole 9 yards. When you do the inverse ETF, it's all done for us. So, unfortunately, I'm limited in that regard. But we talk about it. I did point out shorts, and Stalker's doing a great job of keeping us appraised of short opportunities. Scanner Group SCG, I pointed out as a possible short, and now why is she not coming up? Well, it's showing 47.78 on my. The chart's not drawing for some reason. All right. UPRO's trying to get up to 3450. And one other thing that I do here, if I'm trading the leveraged ETFs, is that I use. Okay. Is I use the regular underlying, like the spiders, to tell me when to sell UPRO. So that's what I do. So if I were long UPRO, I'd be definitely watching the. Let's watch here. I'd be watching the spiders for an indication of when to sell. I also do look at the UPRO. So our UPRO here approaching 3450, but it's not giving me a sell signal on the 15 minute, although I've got stochastics RSI coming down here. That's a divergence. Price and stochastics RSI should go in the same direction. But in fact, if price is still rising, this means it's gathering momentum to go even higher. Almost bought UPRO at 34.23. But What uh, what time frame were you looking at, Val? 5 minute. Okay, well let me go to a 5 minute with you. Whoops, I meant to go today. 5 minute. All right, and let's see, is that right? You were you were looking at breaking the high of yesterday. Was that right, or the high of today? The high of today on the first 5 minute candle. Yeah. You were 5, 10, 15, so you were looking at that one. 5, 10, 15. So you're looking at trying to go above that, which was, I showed 3408 after your 15 minute. It got to 34. So I don't know why you would have waited. Um, I don't know how you came up with 30, above 3423. Because there's 5, there's 10, there's 15 minutes. And the high above that, if you let me move this, is there. 3422. Well, that is at the 5, 10, 15, 20. That's 25 minutes in. I thought you said you would go wait 15 minutes. Anyway, it's a little late in the run for me, although it would. Oh, you didn't see it then. Okay. It did do the doji. Um, you're waiting for a break above the high. Sometimes I don't make it break a high, I make it break, say, the halfway point of the wick if it's a fairly significant number. And the difference here between 3406 and 23 is significant for the U Pro. So maybe a half to 2/3 into that candle, you could probably go long. My stochastic SAR says it was a little late in the game. Yeah. Yeah, the odds were 956 on a 1 minute. Right. Then you see it's starting to, the markets are starting to pull back, and it's starting to pull back, obviously. Yeah, it's all about odds, and it's all about reward to risk. So in this case, I think you made the right choice that you saw it late, not to chase it. I've been in trouble before. I did it a couple of times yesterday where I got in a little late, and I had to take a little bit of heat, and that's what you get for jumping in late. All right. It is 10:07. Time for a market check and a possible reversal. The S&P is up 2%. The futures, yep, and the Qs are up 2.3, and the IWM is up 2.43. TCA was probably the TNA, sorry, was probably the trade of the day. Out of the first 5 minute box, over about 42.20, and we're up $1.30 right now. Nice. Oh yes, I like to watch intraday J hooks. pretty nicely. We don't have any here that I'm showing, but a 5 or a 15 minute J hook. What that normally happens is if there's a big runner up in the beginning of the day, say on an earnings release or something like that, it'll get around a 30-minute flurry. Then it'll pull back from about 10 to 10:15 or so, maybe even 10:30, and then start back up again to either retest the high of the day or break out even higher. And if I can get from that pullback to the retest of the high of the day, assuming the pullback's not too deep, then that gives me a good target one, and then I can play with house money. I also like to use continuation patterns, George. Looking at dojis or near dojis, they work well. 3 minute, they seem to work a lot better. There's a lot more of them. If we go to a 3 minute here on the TNA, I'll show you. Now, see how the 5 minute doesn't really give you any opportunities to get in. But there was our first one right out the bat, and then we got one around 42.75 ish. We got a couple of dojis and then a breakout again. Then a doji and breakout. Doji and move up. And I use the 3, 8, and 17 exponentials. What do I consider deep? Probably greater than 50% of the move. There's no hard and fast number, but 50% works. If basically a Fibonacci retracement. My rule of thumb on the dailies, and not necessarily, I haven't really done a lot of study on intradays. I guess I should. Is that if the pullback is, a third, say 0.23 would be or 0.382, that's almost 33%. If it's right, it's probably, if that's as far back as it pulls back, it's probably going to break out. Very high probability. If it pulls back between 0.382 and 0.50, it's got a pretty good possibility of breaking out, but it's probably going to at least retest the high of the day. And if it's below that, say to 2/3 or 0.618, you're probably the best you're going to be able to hope for is a retest the high of the day. So lower than 50% retracement, greater than a 50% retracement, the reward to risk ratio is not in my favor. At least those are the numbers that I use. They tend to work for me. I have not done any extensive research and validation of it other than by trading, and have seen it work. Well, I'm glad I took the profits in Foot Locker before she pulled back. And let's take the Foot Locker example. See here, George, if I waited to a 5 minute opening range, I probably wouldn't have gone long until I got up to about 75. It did hit 55. That would be the maximum of 25 cents. Don't know where your stop would have been on something like that. Maybe a lot of people advocate being below that low of the day. I say I don't have to be that low for it to prove to me that it's not working. So if I went long, say at 54.66 or so, if it gets below, say if it goes all the way up here and then comes down below 54.50, I'm probably out because it's not working, at least not on this time frame. Now, let's change it to a today 3 minute. See, we could go long here above, say, the 54.50 level. I think that's where we went. What was at 39? And because it started to go in the middle of the wick, and I figured, well, it's probably going to go up and retest the high of the day and maybe even higher. And then it moved up, and then it started to come back. See, so I could never have traded a 5 minute on the Foot Locker, but I had a decent trade on the 3. Does that make it right? No, just makes it what I do. Let's look at 15. Spider got up into the middle, got a little bit above yesterday's open, and looks like it's starting to pull back. An aggressive trader, if you think that we're going to, if you think the market's going to pull back, you could potentially be looking at the inverse. But with the, let's go look at the cues here. Well, look at the SPY. That's a 5 minute. There's a 15. Those are both in uptrends. So I want to be trading in that direction. So I'd be looking for the pullback, like George was talking about, and then a curl back up. Now, George, one other thing. I don't take it from here as for my calculation. My 50% calculation would be from, say, the close right here, the bottom there for the open here. I fill in that gap up as if it were one long candle. And so 50% is going to be somewhere around here. So 247-ish. And I'll be satisfied if I don't take another trade today. And you go, Steve, that's only $149, $150. What's wrong? It's Friday. I only take perfect, really, really, really good setups on Friday. I did a journal entries for 9+ months of day trading and found that Friday was my worst day. Well, I said, how can I avoid that? Well, I could not trade on Friday, or I could do a better job of my entries, better reward to risk ratio. And that's what I've done now. Initially, I quit. Then I went back to paper trading it on Friday. And then now I can trade Fridays, but I only take good setups. Really good setups. And lo and behold, Friday turns out to be my best day of trading now because of that. Maybe I should do that in other days as well. Oh, wait a minute. We've got the oil report, 11 o'clock. Okay, hold on. Thanks for reminding me. Let's see what Zed was doing. Okay, let me set the alarm. Okay. Okay, I've set the alarm for 1 minute till the hour, and then 11:02. We'll take a peek at trading crude oil. Nat gas comes out in about 10 minutes, but I don't trade that gas. Now, as far as trading crude oil, if you're not trading the futures, you could trade USO, UCO, SCO, and choose and pick your poison. GME that we were looking at earlier in the day, it's just kind of gapped up and it's just barely grinding higher. Shutterfly that I was looking at, gapped up and really not going much of anywhere. Las Vegas Sands did kind of an intraday J hook here, but let's look at a three. Little move up, pullback. That's 100% retracement, but it went there. But it did a gap up from. Let's look at a 1 day three. Yeah, because of the gap up there. This right here was one long candle, basically. 1 day five. Okay. So, if one considered this to be the move up, there's the retracement. That's a pretty good entry over here around 53.75 with a 25-cent stop, and you'd already be up a little bit. Problem here is that it's going to probably top out at 54.50, at least run into some sellers. Seattle Genetics, no. Workday's up at resistance. A lot of things going to be up near a resistance level because of the price that we've been in before. Apple's in a rally mode. It's up $4. Really high, strong move over 145.50. 146.75. It's in, definitely in a gap. Gilead. And here's a nice pullback here, even though it's not necessarily a J hook. Nice move up at Gilead, and then a move back up. So over 66.30. Really tight stop. You'd have to probably buy. So you bought UCO a couple of days ago. Are you going to hold through the report? Or are you just going to take your money now? or sell part of it. Okay. I don't have a I don't hold over earnings in any swings or anything like that, but I can see. Let's see UCO. You bought a couple of days ago. If you have more than 100 shares, if you can consider it, you might want to take part off the table because you're up probably $1.20 to $1.25. Oh, you have $200, right? All right. Now, here goes the markets. They must like what Jerome is saying. Kaboom. UPRO hit 3480. Our little number here. See if it goes higher. It looks like it probably does. I was so interested in crude oil that I forgot about the 10 o'clock speaking engagement. In 10:15 we had a report too. What was that? No, that was when Jerome started. That's right. 10:30 nat gas, right? Okay, that makes sense. He can't have said very much in the first 5 minutes of his speech. At some point, they released the contents of the speech somewhere around the time he starts or a little before. So, spiders, where are you going? We're over 250 now. Are we headed to 251 something? We're going to hit that in a hurry. All right. On the spider 15-minute, we did a continuation move up, sideways, and up. On a 5-minute, we did a little bit of a pullback here. You see that? This was in anticipation there. People were taking their profits ahead of Jerome. But that right there is a nice little intraday J hook. And oh, that's right, you were Baba. Thank you very much for posting those, Stalker. We're approaching the 251 level. Shutterfly was pretty good over 43. Let me show you what happens on a 3-minute chart here on the spiders. Nice move up, nice retracement. And where did it pull back to? Prior resistance level now becomes support. Boom, boom, boom. Okay. Yeah, Baba went to breakout over 137. Man, you got yourself a big winner there, Stalker. 135. The gap 135 to 136. Betcha 137 a quarter, right? Okay. Well, that was the 3 to 5 minutes that Powell was speaking. I bet you Stalker's going to take her profits here pretty quick. What's the wow for, Dave? Is that Baba? All right. One day to the next. This is the reason why I take my profits quickly. We're not trending it really at all. We're just gyrating like crazy. The markets are psycho. I guess it's possible. I don't think I'd be buying and holding on a Friday myself, but I guess people could. Yeah, we hit 155 on the Qs. It looks like it wants to pull back from that. 15-minute, and there's a 5-minute. We may go back up and retest that 155 one more time. Maybe, maybe not. I'm talking in a short term because of the stochastics RSI says it still has a little bit of time left, a little momentum. We just might there, Dave. We just might. Breaking news, Fed Chief Jerome Powell says he would not resign even if Mr. Trump asked him to. Good on you, buddy. All right, 1034 for 11. Let's see if we get the 1030 reversal, and this one would be down. You would be doing a counter trend trade if you traded the inverse here. As long as you're aware of that the short-term trends are up. Aggressive trader could go long the QID above 47.20 with a target around 80, and the stop would be 30 cents maybe, 46.90. Yeah, maybe even less than that. So we're not getting any follow through on that QID. I said a minute ago that I thought, based upon the stochastics RSI, we may go up to 155 again. I didn't expect it to be this way. On the 3 minute, on the Qs, we're above 154.80, we go up there. Anything below that, we're still in a downtrend, so it's a possible change of direction. Okay, we're at the 1030 period, 1037 actually. Here comes a push higher. We try to get the higher up in the Qs here. 155.50-ish. And let's back off here on. Well, we get 251.35 actually, but in the spiders. Okay, so 20 days simple moving average on BABA on the daily is 140.75. So that's also resistance. Okay, folks, I am going to take a couple minutes break ahead of the oil report. I'll be back in about 5, maybe 6 minutes. Aggressive traders could think about SPSX over 3060, but I'm not convinced that we're not going higher. Spiders. This looks like a bullish pullback on a 3-minute chart. I was talking to myself. This looks kind of like a bullish pullback to me on a 3-minute, as long as we don't go too much lower. I see George typing. GME's pulling back here. Mr. Baba's still going higher. Yeah, see the stochastics RSI here pulling back, but price is going higher. Price is king. That's why I don't use stochastics RSI as a buy or sell signal. Use candlesticks. I see George typing while, all right, 10:45 for 11. All right, I'll be right back. I've got to go see something. Yeah, I'll be right back. Hi, sweetie pie. Hey, do you want some food? Okay, I'm back. George asked, "How do you pick the stock you're going to trade? Why did you choose Foot Locker? I know you have a list, but if you have if you have 20 stocks on it, good question. I've got the list here. Foot Locker was near the top at the time, and if I look at right, let's look at Foot Locker. This is a 2-day 15-minute chart. Let's go to the 1-hour chart. Anything over about 53.50 is a kind of a breakout. If I go to the one pre-month chart, you can see because
Connection lost.
Foot Locker was on my watch list because it was in an uptrend, moved from a down to an uptrend, and then it gapped up with the market. So that was a bit of a toughie. Did it gap up more or less from the market? But it looked as good as any. And then let's look at the 3 minute. Oh no, let's look at a 1 day 3. All right. Again, anything over this 53.75 or so could have been considered long, and it gapped up here. There was the 3 minute, it went as high as 54.68 or so, and it did a high wave doji, but most of there was a wick to the upside and to the downside, but the upside one was about twice the bottom side. And as it rose up here approaching 54.50, I figured this is halfway through this wick, that it would go back and retest the high at a minimum. One thing I did not take into account on that, though, it didn't turn out to be a bad one, was that the spread was about 12 to 13 cents. So it bounced back and forth between these, and it didn't run. But based on what I was seeing here, that was a pretty good one based upon, if I consider let me move this out of the way. I'll go over here. I was looking at GME. GME would have worked. BABA would have worked. Workday would not have worked at the open. Shutterfly did not work at the open. Las Vegas Sands would have sucked us in and then flip right back around. I think the same with MGM. Seattle Genetics, really high wave doji there. This could have been a bad tick, but it didn't really work that well. Team and those were the ones that Gra. These were the ones that were on my watch list from daily charts. All right. I've got some dogs barking I need to pull inside. Give me 1 second. Do you hear the dogs barking? Why don't you get them in the fucking house? No, look. One, they want to be in. And I don't want barking to the neighbors. I don't give a shit. I just let them out snack a feed. Jesus wept. Yeah, I just look at the dailies and pick out the good dailies, and then look at the open and see kind of where they are. And a lot of them could have worked today primarily because the market was up. And I chose Foot Locker because it was strong even in weekdays. So, all right, 10:53. We got 7 minutes to the oil report. Now I'm showing USO here. Probably, why is that on 3 minute? Probably doesn't move enough to really. You're going to have to buy 1,000 shares or so for that to make any real money. UCO about the same. SCO not necessarily so. You'll probably buy 400 shares or so of that. Unlike the futures, where you have $10 a tick. Nothing to sit on though. Move, move, move. All right. I've got my trader friends here with me. All right, 58 for 11 o'clock. Unlink that. Oh yeah, I know. All right, let's see what happens to oil in the report. And that's 11 o'clock. Kaboom. Short crude oil popping up. We're going to wait 2 minutes. And I'm basically showing over 26 if it's short crude oil, or under 15. Be short of it. So we're going to get a knee jerk in the direction of short oil. Right here. Let's put this on the today 3. Alright, below this right there should be a short. And I have to let it go, even though it looks like it's a short crude oil long. Over the 26. We dipped our toe under 1490. We dipped our toe under 48. We bounced off 48.50, and what oil does is it does tend to move to 0.50. You know, the round numbers: 50, 25, 75, and 00. Would you sit down, buddy? Oh, here. Go on. Get in there. Go on, sit down. You're a pain in the ass, dog. All right. And we're cleared to trade now. Crude oil is back to neutral. UCO is not in trade. SCO not a trade. Would you sit down, buddy? You were barking. Sit down. Go on, lie down. Kind of biding our time at the moment. Short crude oil looks like it. You know, we'll see. But that's my preferred direction over 26. Lower here. We get a little bit of a bounce at crude. Still in no man's land here in crude, biding my time. are there. Where stochastics RSI pointing up. Still haven't gotten a breakout. We'll get that at about 1520.
Order pending.
I've got a buy-in at 1520. 400 shares of UCO.
Order filled.
And it tapped me and then pulled right back. Oil went up to 49.08 and it looks like it may want to go higher. This is quite a little bit of a difficult trade. I'll be wrong below about 48.90. I'm risking $100 here on USO. Okay. All right, this is not looking so good.
Order filled.
Closed it out. Now I'm going to look at short crude oil. Flip to the other side. Again, that was my initial reaction but I still need to get over 26.
Order pending.
We may not get it. We may just bounce around. That would be got to get below this level about 48.50. Watching 4860.
Order canceled.
All right.
Order filled.
I went ahead and bought some right now. Where we at? Way to go, Stalker. All right, we've got to get some follow through below this 4860. Wow. And you guys can't see it, but crude oil just seems to be in equilibrium at the moment. This will be my last trade regardless of what happens. It's 11:12. It's 48.60. We dipped below it to get people short like me. And looks like I'm going to get run out of town again. Let this candle finish. Now, the only hope for me is that we stop right here and close and then do another red candle to follow through. Continuation to the downside. Doing an inside candle here. You can see the profit and loss and the number of shares listed here. Unfortunately, you can't see one of the overlays to the right, which shows a more detailed buy and sell, but you've got everything you need right here. Watching paint dry and grass grow. Need that follow through to the downside below. I got 58, I guess it was there. Maybe lower. That was 54. These were 53 and 53. The buyer stepped up right there at that prior low over here. They took a flyer. Okay. If we can get over 26, I'll probably get a little bit of a run here in the SCO. I got my first target at 26.06. We're at 02. Should be filled here fairly shortly.
Target filled.
Okay, I was filled at 26.06, I think. I'll check in a minute. Let's move that stop up. break even plus. And I'm looking for it to retest pretty much the high of the day and the low of the day on oil. Let's back off there a little bit. And around 48.20 or so on oil would be a nice nice spot. Yep. Yeah, I got filled at 26.06. Let's move this stop up just a little bit more. Trying to be a little patient. And we're trying to form a little bit of a doji and hammer here on the 3-minute crude. I got the 1 minute there. We are below 48.50. And we go back above it.
Stop
okay, we're out.
filled.
Okay. I have no earthly idea what we got filled at, but let me double check. 99. Yeah, 99. And we were long from '87. All right, we'll tote these up in just a little bit. All right, folks, I am going to step aside here. I'm going to call it a day in a week. And we're going higher. I probably put the stop in a little bit too close on oil. I'll stick around for just a little bit here. And 26.33 was my target, and it's gonna hit it. There it is. Just did not stay with it long enough. Let's see if it gets over 40 or not. If it does, it'll probably collapse. I think we'll get some people stepping up right here. Okay, let's look at that. Plus 19 by 200, and 200 times 99, 12. 4. 62. I don't like the ETFs nearly as much as I do the futures. It's just not as nice. Anyway, like I said, I'm going to step aside. I'm going to call it a day and a week. I will leave the charts up for everybody here. What I'm going to do is go back to a regular UPRO here on a 5-minute chart. Let's do it today, 5. All right. Well, we do today 15 up here. Today 15. All right. So you see the 15-minute charts, and you see the 5-minute charts. Let's take this to the Qs. Let's take that to UPRO. Today 5. Let's look at that ad. All right. All right, you should be set, and I'll come check with you guys later in the afternoon, but you're on your own. Be smart, be safe, aloha. Friday afternoons are not easy times to trade.